Welcome to Searching the Scriptures. Our Bible teacher will be Gunther von Harringa Sr. In this series of studies, we will be focusing on the book of Judges.
Good evening and welcome to Searching the Scriptures.
So without further ado, let's look into God's Word, the Bible.
The book of Judges, and today's date is April 19th, 2017. I'll read verses 25 to 31 of this historical parable. And they tarried till they were ashamed. And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them. And behold, their Lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped unto Seirath. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. And the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for Jehovah hath delivered your enemies the Moabites into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. And the land had rest 80 years. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad. And he also delivered Israel. In our last study, we left off at the phrase in verse 28, For Jehovah hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand, which, as I've mentioned numerous times before, is the third phase of the cycle of rebellion, oppression, deliverance, and rest, which is found throughout this book. We have also looked at these same Hebrew words in some of our previous studies, so I won't spend time doing so now, so we can proceed to the next phrase, which is, and took the fords of Jordan, which is made up of three Hebrew words. And took is 39:20, the fords is 45:69, and of Jordan is 33:83. In Joshua 4:23 to 24, God makes a significant contrast between the Red Sea and the Jordan River, which we need to keep in mind. For Jehovah your God dried up the waters of Jordan from before you, until ye were passed over, as Jehovah your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us, until we were gone over, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of Jehovah, that it is mighty, that ye might fear Jehovah your God forever. Both the Red Sea as well as the Jordan River typify hell, which is the grave. And it's the reason why the priests, if you recall, bearing the Ark of the Covenant, were commanded to pass over first, and then the people would follow them. And that's because the Ark is a representation of the Lord Jesus Christ, who died and was annihilated for the sins of his people from the foundation of the world as the firstborn or first begotten from the dead. And that is the reason why they took the Ark of the Covenant first through the river, through hell, through the grave, as it were. And it's similar to the idea that we find in Jonah 2, where the whale's belly is likened to the belly of hell. the terms the fords and of Jordan only appear together in two other citations. The first one is in verse 7 of Joshua 2, 1-7. And here in this chapter, which has to do with the ploy that Rahab perpetrated to deceive the king of Jericho, who was looking for the two Israelite spies that Rahab had hid under the stalks of flax on the roof of her house. And if you remember, her house was situated right on the city wall. And so it made their escape quite easy. And also, when they came back to Jericho, they were able to rescue Rahab as well as the other members of her family very easily, because she was right there on the city wall and the walls came down. And Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, "Go view the land, even Jericho." And they went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab, and lodged there. And he was told the king of Jericho, saying, "Behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country." And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, "Bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country." And the women took the 2 men and hid them, and said thus, "There came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were." And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. Those are our 2 words. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. The other passage is in verses 5 and 6 of Judges 12, 1-6, which I won't elaborate on now, since we're going to get to that chapter, Lord willing, one day. And the men of Ephraim gathered themselves together and went northward, and said unto Jephthah, "Wherefore passest thou over to fight against the children of Ammon, and didst not call us to go with thee? We will burn thine house upon thee with fire." And Jephthah said unto them, "I and my people were at great strife with the children of Ammon. And when I called you, ye delivered me not out of their hands. And when I saw that ye delivered me not, I put my life in my hands, and passed over against the children of Ammon. And Jehovah delivered them into my hand. Wherefore then are you come up unto me this day to fight against me?" Then Jephthah gathered together all the men of Gilead, and fought with Ephraim. And the men of Gilead smote Ephraim, because they said, "Ye Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim among the Ephraimites, and among the Manassites." And the Gileadites took the passages, that's this word, fords, of Jordan, before the Ephraimites. And it was so, that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, "Let me go over," that the men of Gilead said unto him, "Art thou an Ephraimite?" If he said, "Nay," then said they unto him, "Say now, Shibboleth." And he said, "Sibboleth," for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan. And there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 42,000. The last phrase in verse 28 that we want to consider, along with verse 29, is, "And suffered not a man to pass over," which is comprised of three words. And suffered is 54:14, not a man is 376, and to pass over is 56:74. And then we also read in verse 29, "And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man." I included verse 29 since it repeats the point that not one man escaped. All of these close to 10,000 men were killed in the historical context. And we have also learned that the number 10, or any of its multiples, which would be 100, 1,000, 10,000, spiritually has to do with completeness. And in this case, since we're talking about the non-elect with the Moabites, the complete number of all the non-elect that will die and be annihilated, because the time frame that that is spiritually in view here is our current day of judgment. These three terms also appear in one other citation in verse 2 of Deuteronomy 17, 1-7. "Thou shalt not sacrifice unto Jehovah thy God any bullock or sheep, wherein is blemish, or any ill-favoredness, for that is an abomination unto Jehovah thy God. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which Jehovah thy God giveth thee, man or woman that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of Jehovah thy God, in transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods, and worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel, then thou shalt bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shalt stone them with stones till they die. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So shalt thou put the evil away from you." 2 of these 3 words in Judges 3:28, not a man, Strong's number 376, and to pass over 5674, are also found in verses 10 and 12 of Jeremiah 9, 1-26, in connection with the end of salvation, both with regard to the churches and denominations in the first instance, beginning on May 21, 1988, and secondly, in alluding to the world at large as of May 21, 2011. "Oh, that my head were waters, and mine eyes a fountain of tears, that I might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of my people. Oh, that I had in the wilderness a lodging place of wayfaring men, that I might leave my people and go from them. For they be all adulterers, an assembly of treacherous men, and they bend their tongues like their bow for lies. but they are not valiant for the truth upon the earth. For they proceed from evil to evil, and they know not me, saith Jehovah. Take ye heed every one of his neighbor, and trust ye not in any brother. For every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders. And they will deceive every one his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies, and weary themselves to commit iniquity. Thine habitation is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know me, saith Jehovah. Therefore thus saith Jehovah of hosts, Behold, I will melt them and try them. For how shall I do for the daughter of my people? Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit. One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he layeth his wait. Shall I not visit them for these things, saith Jehovah? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? For the mountains will I take up a weeping and wailing, and for the habitations of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burned up, so that none can pass through. Those are our two words. So that none can pass through them. Neither can men hear the voice of the cattle. Both the fowls of the heavens and the beast are fled. They are gone. And I will make Jerusalem heaps and a den of dragons. And I will make the cities of Judah desolate, without an inhabitant. Who is this wise man? Who is the wise man that may understand this? And who is he to whom the mouth of Jehovah hath spoken, that he may declare it? For what the land perisheth, and is burned up like a wilderness, that none passeth through. And Jehovah said, Because they have forsaken my law, which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein, but have walked after the imagination of their own heart, and after Baalim, which their fathers taught them. Therefore thus saith Jehovah of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will feed them, even this people, with wormwood, and give them water of gall to drink. I will scatter them also among the heathen, whom neither they nor their fathers have known, and I will send a sword after them, till I have consumed them. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, Consider ye, and call for the mourning women, that they may come, and send for cunning women, that they may come, and let them make haste, and take up a wailing for us, that our eyes may run down with tears, and our eyelids gush out with water. For a voice of wailing is heard out of Zion. How are we spoiled? We are greatly confounded, because we have forsaken the land, because our dwellings have cast us out. Yet hear the word of Jehovah, O ye women, and let your ear receive the word of his mouth, and teach your daughters wailing, and every one her neighbor lamentation. For death is come up into our windows, and is entered into our palaces, to cut off the children from without, and the young men from the streets. Speak, thus saith Jehovah, even the carcasses of men shall fall as dung upon the open field, and as the handful after the harvestmen, and none shall gather them. Thus saith Jehovah, Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am Jehovah, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith Jehovah. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will punish all them which are circumcised, and we have to keep in mind physically circumcised, with the uncircumcised, Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab, and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness. For all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. And when he's speaking about the house of Israel here, it would have to be a reference to corporate Israel, not the Israel of God, which are the elect. Well, Lord willing, in our next lesson, we'll continue examining the end of chapter 3.
Thank you for joining us today for Searching the Scriptures. Until next time, to God be the glory.